You're listening to the CyberWire Network, powered by N2K.
We've all been there. You realize your business needs to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Well, it's easy. Just use Indeed. When it comes to hiring, Indeed is all you need. Stop struggling to get your job post noticed. Indeed's sponsored jobs helps you stand out and hire fast. Your post jumps to the top of search results so the right candidates see it first. And it works. Sponsored jobs on Indeed get 45% more applications than non-sponsored ones. One of the things I love about Indeed is how fast it makes hiring. And yes, we do actually use Indeed for hiring here at N2K CyberWire. Many of my colleagues here came to us through Indeed. Plus, with sponsored jobs, there are no subscriptions, no long-term contracts. You only pay for results. How fast is Indeed? Oh, in the minute or so that I've been talking to you, 23 hires were made on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. There's no need to wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners to this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/cyberwire. Just go to Indeed.com/cyberwire right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/cyberwire. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.
Fortra confirms an exploitation of the maximum severity GoAnywhere flaw. Harvard investigates a claim of a breach. Banking Trojan targets Brazilian WhatsApp users. Reduction in force hits CISA. Simon Med says 1.2 million hit by Medusa ransomware. Netherlands invokes the Goods Availability Act against a Chinese company. We have our business breakdown. On today's Industry Voices, we are joined by Mickey Bresman, sharing insights on hybrid identity security. And beware of the shuffler. Today is October 14th, 2025. I'm Maria Varmazes, host of T-Minus Space Daily, sitting in for Dave Bittner. And this is your CyberWire Intel Briefing. Thank you for joining me today. Let's get into it. Security firm Fortra has belatedly confirmed in the wild exploitation of a maximum severity vulnerability in its GoAnywhere managed file transfer software, which was patched 3 weeks ago. The vulnerability is a deserialization flaw that allows an actor with a validly forged license response signature to deserialize an arbitrary actor-controlled object, possibly leading to command injection. The U.S. Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, or CISA, added the flaw to its known exploited vulnerabilities catalog 2 weeks ago, and Microsoft last week published a report on the active exploitation. CISA and Microsoft both say the vulnerability is being used in ransomware campaigns. Researchers at Watchtower, who published a report on the vulnerability last month, note that some details of the exploitation are still unclear. Watchtower's CEO Ben Harris told Cyberscoop that the exploitation implies that the attacker has somehow circumvented or satisfied the cryptographic requirements needed to exploit this vulnerability. Harvard University has disclosed that it was compromised by a zero-day flaw affecting Oracle's e-business suite system, and the school is investigating a potential breach after the Clop ransomware gang listed the university on its leak site. Oracle issued an emergency patch for the flaw last week. A Harvard spokesperson told Bleeping Computer that Harvard is aware of reports that data associated with the university has been obtained as the result of a zero-day vulnerability in the Oracle e-business suite system. This issue has impacted many Oracle e-business suite customers and is not specific to Harvard. While the investigation is ongoing, we believe that this incident impacts a limited number of parties associated with a small administrative unit. Upon receiving it from Oracle, we applied a patch to remediate the vulnerability. We are continuing to monitor and have no evidence of compromise to other university systems. Sophos describes a malware campaign targeting Brazilian WhatsApp users with a banking Trojan that's tailored for customers of Brazilian banks and cryptocurrency exchanges. The malware is delivered by tricking users into executing a malicious file attached to a self-spreading message received from a previously infected WhatsApp web session. It then sends similar malicious messages to all of the victim's contacts. Sophos has observed first-stage PowerShell activity associated with this campaign in over 400 customer environments and on more than 1,000 endpoints. As the U.S. government shutdown drags on, CISA is now facing reductions in force, or RIFs, that threaten its already lean operations. With over 1,000 employees already departed this year, CISA had slated only 889 staffers to remain on duty during the shutdown, which is roughly 35% of its workforce. Last week, RIF notices began rolling out across the agency, putting the future staffing levels of its critical cybersecurity divisions at risk. Experts warn that amid rising cyber threats, even temporary staffing gaps could hinder detection, response, and information sharing. U.S. medical imaging provider SimonMed Imaging disclosed a data breach affecting 1.2 million patients, stemming from unauthorized access between January 21st and February 5th, 2025. The breach was uncovered when a vendor notified SimonMed of a security incident on January 27th. Investigators confirmed suspicious network activity the next day. Attackers claimed responsibility via the Medusa ransomware group, demanding $1 million and leaking data such as ID scans, patient details, and medical reports. SimonMed responded by resetting passwords, enforcing multi-factor authentication, deploying endpoint detection, and restricting third-party access. So far, SimonMed reports no confirmed misuse of the stolen data and is offering affected individuals free identity protection services. The government of the Netherlands has invoked extraordinary powers to override business decisions at Nexperia, which is a semiconductor firm partly owned by China, citing serious governance shortcomings. Under the newly applied Goods Availability Act, Dutch authorities can block or reverse asset transfers and strategic moves perceived as threats to critical technological know-how. Nexperia's parent, WingTech, condemned the decree as geopolitically motivated and vowed to appeal in court. The move reflects broader concerns over Chinese influence and intellectual property transfer in the semiconductor sector, especially where cutting-edge technology like lithography is involved. The UK regulator Ofcom has issued a £20,000 fine to US-based forum 4chan, marking the first enforcement under the UK's Online Safety Act. The penalty stems from 4chan's failure to respond to legally mandated requests for its illegal harms risk assessment and other compliance documentation. Ofcom will also impose an extra £100 daily fine for up to 60 days if the site still does not comply. For its part, 4chan's lawyers contend that Ofcom lacks authority over a U.S. platform, and they refuse to pay, arguing that the action conflicts with America's free speech protections. And now for our business breakdown. Last week's business breakdown highlights a staggering $250 million raised across 7 investments and 12 acquisitions. On the investment front, French open-source security solution provider Filigran finished its Series C round, raising $58 million. The funding will be used to accelerate the company's development of its OpenGRC platform, which is an open-source platform for threat-informed cyber risk management. Alongside further developing this platform, Filigran is also looking to scale its presence in Saudi Arabia, Japan, the United States, and the DACH region. For acquisitions, the digital consulting firm Synchron acquired 3 companies as it looks to launch its new global ServiceNow business. The 3 companies are RapDev, Calti, and WaveGen. RapDev is one of the world's largest Datadog partners. WaveGen is the leading Appian partner, and Calti architects and delivers full-scale ServiceNow implementations. Alongside debuting a global ServiceNow business, Synchron is also looking to expand outside the financial sector into new markets, such as healthcare and energy. Additionally, SAIC, which is the Virginia-based defense contractor, has acquired Silver Edge Government Solutions for $205 million. With this acquisition, SAIC is looking to incorporate SilverEdge's flagship product, SOAR, into its offerings. And SOAR is a SaaS service that utilizes automation, AI ML, data visualization, and cross-domain capabilities to deliver turnkey, customizable software solutions to clients. And that wraps this week's business breakdown. For deeper analysis on major business moves shaping the cybersecurity landscape, subscribe to N2K Pro and check out thecyberwire.com every Wednesday for the latest updates. Stick around after the break. On today's Industry Voices, we are joined by Mickey Bresman, sharing insights on hybrid identity security. And beware of the shuffler.
What's your 2 a.m. security worry? Is it, do I have the right controls in place? Maybe, are my vendors secure? Or the one that really keeps you up at night, how do I get out from under these old tools and manual processes? That's where Vanta comes in. Vanta automates the manual work so you can stop sweating over spreadsheets, chasing audit evidence, and filling out endless questionnaires. Their trust management platform continuously monitors your systems, centralizes your data, and simplifies your security at scale. And it fits right into your workflows, using AI to streamline evidence collection, flag risks, and keep your program audit ready, all the time. With Vanta, you get everything you need to move faster, scale confidently, and finally, get back to sleep. Get started at vanta.com/cyber. That's VANTA.com/cyber. And now, a word from our sponsor, ThreatLocker, the powerful zero-trust enterprise solution that stops ransomware in its tracks. Allow Listing is a deny-by-default software that makes application control simple and fast. Ring fencing is an application containment strategy, ensuring apps can only access the files, registry keys, network resources, and other applications they truly need to function. Shut out cybercriminals with world-class endpoint protection from ThreatLocker.
On today's Industry Voices, Dave Bittner recently sat down with Mickey Bresman, Semperis CEO, and shared insights on hybrid identity security and their HIP conference. Here's their conversation.
So the identity security motion is keep on growing more bigger and more important to the different audiences, both security and IT operational ones. I think there are several interesting key takeaways that I have from this event, where, first of all, we have the biggest number of attendees till date. I believe that we were at roughly 400 attendees, which is obviously great to see that it's keep on growing. I think the main things that I have as takeaways from the conference is that it was very interesting to hear that Microsoft is committed to Active Directory security and support. We had Microsoft speakers on stage. It was also interesting to see the type of audience that we had, where you had people that have responsibility for 5 domain controllers and all the way to more than 5,000 domain controllers. So it's a very diverse type of a group. I think also an interesting takeaway was that hybrid environments will remain the standard for God knows for how long, maybe even forever, as opposed to the previous thinking that potentially, companies will be either on-prem, either in the cloud. Reality-wise, the vast majority of the attendees here all are suggesting that they see their companies remaining as hybrid. I think another interesting point was around the fact that, and that's my observation, that identity is more critical than ever, and it just continues to get more and more attention from the security teams, with the clear understanding that in the new, modern enterprise, with remote work, cloud applications, identity plays the biggest role in terms of how to actually defend the organization. And obviously, you cannot have a conference today without bringing up AI. But in this case, AI have a different application for the identity security space. What I mean by that is one of the conclusions that is currently coming out from HIP is that agentic AI is actually introducing a new type of identities. So if traditionally organizations thought about identities as a human identity, and there was another classification of a machine identity, now all of a sudden we have a third bucket that is called agentic AI, or basically agent identities, because those are not humans, obviously, but they also don't behave like machine identities. And that requires a completely different approach on when we introduce this new type of an identity to the organization. How do we make sure that it is done in a secured manner and is managed correctly in the organization?
Well, what were some of the conversations around that topic with the agentic AI? Where do you suppose we're headed?
Yeah, that's a great one. I think there is a lot of questions that coming up. Obviously, the adoption of agentic AI is, it's infinity. It's just starting. And I think what we're seeing is companies trying to understand what does it actually mean to their environments. As an example, one of the questions that customers are currently trying to answer for themselves is, will my organization have multiple agentic AI type of systems? Maybe I'm going to use, Microsoft Copilot, and at the same time, I'm going to be using Gemini as an example. If that is, and that's most likely what's going to happen, at least from what I'm hearing. And then if that is indeed the case, then it creates a new type of a question. And again, I'm looking at right now from the identity point of view. Where will those identities be coming from? Meaning, is it reasonable to assume that we will still have the agentic AI identities exist in the same IDPs that we're having today? Or will it mean now that we will need to rethink the entire model? Because all of a sudden, potentially, those identities will not exist outside, or will not be managed, will be probably a better way to put it, outside of the provider of those identities. To put it very simple, if my company is using Entra ID as the identity source in the cloud, then I think it's reasonable to assume that the agentic AI identities will be managed in Entra ID. But if I'm now adopting Gemini as an example, should I make the assumption that I'll be able to manage those identities in Entra ID as well? Or should I be starting to think of those identities existing only inside of Gemini, which is obviously a completely different type of an approach?
Well, from the unique point of view that you and your colleagues at Sempris have, where are you seeing enterprises falling short when it comes to securing Active Directory?
That's a very big question. Yeah. Look, there's a lot of interesting questions or things that we're seeing now in the industry. By the way, another interesting point that I've seen coming here from the conference is Active Directory has been around for more than 25 years, which is typically seen as something that in the technology space. We often refer to technology that has been here for a while. We will refer to it as a legacy, which will typically imply that, it's not the best of what you can have, and you should probably thinking about adopting something else. But the reality is, from what I'm hearing from customers, is that that's not how they see it. What they see is the fact that Active Directory has been around for 25 years makes it a very mature, and that maturity is seen as an advantage. So I think it was very interesting to see that many companies got to this realization that they will continue and have Active Directory as the core of their identity story for a long period of time. At this point, I'm no longer trying to make any predictions till when, because it may be forever. One of the examples that people kept using at the conference all the time is mainframe, where it's just there and it's been there, and there have been multiple instances where people thought that it will not be, but the reality is that it is still very much there. It basically requires organizations to rethink, if Active Directory is going to be the source of my identity story for my company for the years to come, then obviously I need to rethink how do I make sure that that system is secured? How do I make sure that that system is properly protected and managed? And then obviously, I need to make sure that if something happens and somebody compromises that system, that I have a way to bounce back and have the system up and running in a relatively short period of time.
I was looking through the global ransomware report that you all published earlier this year. One of the statistics that caught my eye was that 70% of companies paid the ransom when they were victimized. Do you have any advice for organizations of ways to drive down that number?
For sure. Well, Dave, if you think about why would somebody decide to pay ransom, in most cases, the answer is going to be one of the two reasons. The first one, you just concluded that you have no way to bounce back in a reasonable amount of time. So let's say that and I actually would argue that that is the biggest reason. So just to explain a bit, the second reason is going to be because you had a data that was stolen from the organization that you deemed to be so sensitive that if it would have been published, then it's going to hurt you tremendously. So maybe let's start with the second point. The second point to me is that even if you pay ransom, you actually should assume that that data still can be published, because we've seen multiple times that the bad actors are not necessarily going to play, by the rules, so to speak. And it might be that they will take your money, but they will still go ahead and publish it. And we also seen instances where, now it's a bit more organized. So you might have more than one group of bad actors actually working against you. And we've seen, without mentioning names, although it was very publicly covered, we've seen those situations where you paid who you thought is the main ransomware group, but then another group showed up and said, well, we actually have not been paid, so we're going to publish your data in any case. So I think from that point of view, I know it's very tricky to decide if you should or should not be paying in order to get your data back. But my main point there is that even if you do pay, you can't really know if you will or will not get your data back. So let's assume for a minute that that is not the main decision in terms of should you be paying or not, meaning the data that have been stolen. Let's go back to the first point, which I think is the more critical. How fast can I actually bounce back? And I will suggest to think about it. If I'm now taking the CEO point of view and my company was hit, I would want to know a couple of things. How fast can we go back to what is defined as at least the minimal operational mode of my company? And probably the bigger question that I'm going to have, how much trust do I have in the numbers that are being put in front of me by my IT organization? If they're saying that they will bounce back, as an example, in a matter of 48 hours, can I really believe that that's what's going to happen? And the only way to do that, and that's the question of what can be done, is to make sure that you actually have, your playbooks, your run books, all ready to go, that you know how to approach your cyber insurance provider in the case of an emergency. You actually tested and tried to make sure that you understand what needs to happen if one of the decision makers is not available, like who becomes the next in line. You also tried your recovery process, not just by restoring a server, but you actually made sure that you understand how you will be communicating with the different teams. You understand what is the sequence of events that is going to take place. So basically, you have a clear understanding of what is the bounce back process looks like. And if you have that, and you can now speak to the management with the confidence of saying, we've done it before, we are well organized, we are well planned, and we can guarantee that guarantee is a big term here, but we're very confident that we can go live again in 24 hours. I guarantee to you in this case that the management will be very unlikely to decide to pay ransom.
That was Mickey Bresman, Sempera CEO, sharing insights on hybrid identity security and their HIP conference.
At Thales, they know cybersecurity can be tough and you can't protect everything. But with Thales, you can secure what matters most. With Talus's industry-leading platforms, you can protect critical applications, data, and identities anywhere and at scale with the highest ROI. That's why the most trusted brands and largest banks, retailers, and healthcare companies in the world rely on Talus to protect what matters most: applications, data, and identity. That's Talus. THALES. Learn more at talusgroup.com/cyber.
Running a business comes with a lot of what-ifs. But luckily, there's a simple answer to them. Shopify. It's the commerce platform behind millions of businesses, including Thrive Cosmetics and Momofuku, and it'll help you with everything you need. From website design and marketing to boosting sales and expanding operations, Shopify can get the job done and make your dream a reality. Turn those what-ifs into... Sign up for your $1 per month trial at shopify.com/special offer.
And finally, a group of researchers hacked an automatic card shuffler used in casinos by sneaking tiny sensors and wireless gear inside, basically turning a blackjack shoe into a spy gadget. The mod lets them track cards' positions as they get shuffled and deliver real-time advice to a player's phone. Wagers aside, it's a brilliant act of low-tech villainy meets high-tech mischief. Casinos, please take note, even your shuffler might be listening. And that's the CyberWire. For links to all of today's stories, check out our daily briefing at thecyberwire.com. We'd love to know what you think of our podcast. Your feedback ensures we deliver the insights that keep you a step ahead in the rapidly changing world of cybersecurity. If you like our show, please share a rating and review in your podcast app. Please also fill out the survey in the show notes or send an email to cyberwire@n2k.com. N2K's senior producer is Alice Carruth. Our producer is Liz Stokes. We're mixed by Elliot Peltzman and Trey Hester, with original music by Elliot Peltzman. Our executive producer is Jennifer Iben. Peter Kilpie is our publisher, and I'm your host, Maria Varmazis, in This Week for Dave Bittner. Thanks for listening. I'll see you tomorrow.
Cyber Innovation Day is the premier event for cyber startups, researchers, and top VC firms building trust into tomorrow's digital world. Kick off the day with unfiltered insights and panels on securing tomorrow's technology. In the afternoon, the 8th annual Data Tribe Challenge takes center stage as elite startups pitch for exposure, acceleration, and funding. The Innovation Expo runs all day, connecting founders, investors, and researchers around breakthroughs in cybersecurity. It all happens November 4th in Washington, D.C. Discover the startups building the future of cyber. Learn more at cid.datatribe.com.